No, Joel. You have literally no idea.
Whatever you say, sir.
High speed porn up in this hoe. Welcome to Practical Shooting After Dark.
Oh, shit.
I know, man. I talk crazy. It's fun.
I had no idea.
When he starts to talk crazy, you know it's coming. So I just like back off, like don't say anything crazy.
It's been a while, so.
Yeah, you forgot how this works.
Yeah.
On deck tonight, you can hear Mr. Matt Hopkins.
Hi.
Coming at you from kind of the middle part of the country. And then also very near the middle of the U.S., Mr. Joel Park.
Hello, everyone.
From the Great White North, I'm here also. Joel hasn't succeeded in kicking me off my own show yet. Son of a bitch.
I think you'd be tough to replace, sir.
Oh, maybe in a lot of ways, maybe not all of them good. All right, you guys know the rules. Everybody comes here with a topic, something you worked on this week in shooting, something you want to rant about, something that makes you angry, hopefully. Maybe we need a little bit of spice, some spicy things to discuss. Or maybe you just got a show and tell thing. So let's get to it. I want to go first, guys.
Do it.
I got a thing. So you might recall, you likely recall, that a few months ago, we had Tim Myers on the show, and he told me to not get another blue barf gun for limited. Instead, I should get the snazzy black limited guns, the extreme guns from Tanfolio. You know how they have the regular version of the gun, and then if you pay an extra $1,000, you get the extreme gun.
Yeah, it's more intense.
It is. And he talked me into it because the extreme guns were black. They had silver grips, silver base pads, silver mag well. They look super sharp. Super sharp. I think we had this discussion on the air, and I sent an email to change my order while we were doing the podcast. Like, you got me, Tim. So I had two of them ordered. Two of the extreme guns, and they turned up. Now,
Awesome.
I'm holding one in my hot little hands. It is not silver grips, as the picture showed. Instead, they're blue. And I'll be honest with you guys, I think it looks even sharper like this. What do you say?
I think it looks outstanding. Did you have somebody work on that, or did you put those grips on there for you, sir?
All right, so as the gun is equipped, like what you're seeing here, so let me talk you through it. This is a gun that's 40 cal. It's got the EGD blue grips on it. It's got I think it's an EGD magwell and EGD base pads. The 40 caliber magazines hold, I think, 17 rounds. Not super reloadable because they're set up for IPSC standard. If I change base pads, they'll hold 20. 20 reloadable, I think, if I change to the Henning pads for USPSA. The front sight is a Dawson fiber front. And yeah, the only part that's on here that didn't come on it was the fiber optic front from Dawson. And my boy Derek at Practically Perfect Performance, who has been working on my guns the last couple of years, he massaged the triggers on these. So last year's guns went to Henning, and he put on the Henning magwell and his grips and all the swanky ass shit. Instead, these guns are, I would say, they're basically out of the box. I think Derek just polished the trigger a little bit. He said they were basically okay, and the trigger as it sits now, I feel like it breaks about 2 pounds, which is light enough that it makes me a little nervous because my production guns are more like 4 pounds. Okay, so that's what we have here. Basically my assessment on this, like, I'll be honest with you guys, I don't pay for these guns, so I don't really give a shit what they cost, but I can tell you guys what I think. This is $1,000 more than the other guns.
What's the other gun?
The limited, I think, Elite Custom.
Limited Custom, I think is what it's called.
Maybe it's not $1,000 more at actual street price. I don't really know, because it's pretty difficult to tell what they're actually going to sell for because the availability is limited. But it didn't have to change any parts or really do anything to it. So it's like basically good to go out of the box. And the box it comes in is fantastic.
I saw that.
So,
I saw that on Instagram.
This up
That's
here,
a very nice box.
The box is ridiculous. It's huge, and it has 3 more magazines in it. It has a really swanky cleaning kit. It looks really nice. It's a nice package. I think at street price, the gun would be about $2,200. So it's not really like the budget choice anymore. I'll be honest. It's cheaper than, I don't know, like if you got a really swanky limited gun, a custom built one, it would be,
Those are probably like 4, aren't they?
yeah,
Or
it'd be
high
like double
threes.
this. So it's still cheap-ish, but it's not crazy cheap. I think it's a reasonable gun for the money. I would probably steer people towards the cheaper one, the one that's like $1,200, because you don't really need to spend the extra money on this one. But that having been said, I really like the way this one's equipped. I like the trigger face on it, where it's as you can see here, guys, it's not exactly a flat trigger, but it's pretty close. It feels like a pretty good reach for me. And I don't typically shoot the EGD grips because they're a little too thin for me. But with a single action only gun, that might be okay, because once my hand gets locked on these grips, they're fine. And my small frame guns that live in Russia also have the EGD grips on them, so I've kind of gotten used to them a little bit. I can kind of live with them. So I may not even bother changing the grips, to be honest. The magwell, it's a little bit smaller than the Henning magwell on my other guns, which I feel like I can live with. It's designed to fit in the IPSC standard box, but that's not a consideration for us here. But would I bother to change the magwell with what's on here? No, I don't think so. I think this is fine. The only modification I'm considering making to the gun is to blend the magwell into the frame a little bit with a Dremel. That's the only thing I would really, I would even think I need to do. I think the gun looks really sharp. I think it's pretty interesting. And based on the guns since it's basically the same guns that I was shooting last year, I feel like it's highly likely to be very reliable. I sighted it in today. I've just shot a few rounds through it, sighted it in. It shoots accurately. It shoots nice. It feels good. I think it's a decent choice. It's just, I mean, to be honest, it's like the baller version. But whenever you buy the baller version of anything, it's pretty difficult to justify the extra money. You know what I mean? You could almost have 2 of the cheaper guns for what you'd have one of these for.
Yeah, you're gonna put parts in the cheaper gun anyway, probably.
Yeah, you quite likely would. I mean, almost certainly. I mean, at least a magwell. Like my other gun, my other guns had Henning triggers, aftermarket hammers, aftermarket grips, aftermarket magwell anyway.
What was the trigger weight on the cheaper one? Do you know what the blue gun trigger was?
Cheaper ones come with. I never shot them stock. They got fucked with before I shot them. But I think the triggers are probably not something you'd want to use out of the box.
Yeah, so that's an advantage for that gun to have it already done.
Yeah, I don't think they did anything. I don't think Derek really did much to it, to be honest. So yeah, I think it's a great gun. It's not the most economical version, but if you're not super price sensitive, this is great. And I think the issue, if people are looking to get one of these guns, I think availability is likely to be more the issue. So you could kind of I would kind of take whatever you can get. If you wanted one, it'd be like, okay, this one's more, but you don't have to do shit to it. Versus if you find the other one, the cheap one, you buy that one, you probably be spending more money on parts anyway.
Anything special that makes it like someone can't duplicate it? Like the slide cuts look pretty specific on it.
I think they change the slide cuts every year.
Oh, okay, yeah.
For the guns, I like the slide cuts on this are swanky. They're like I don't know if they're exactly the same. All right, hold on a second. Hold on.
Ben's going to get the other gun so we can compare the two.
But who knows how long he's going to be gone.
Okay, so the thing that was really cool about last year's blue guns was the slide cuts on this were different to the other guns.
Right.
And as you can see, the slide cuts here, it looks identical on the extreme here.
Okay.
And that's good because that's the slide cuts that you want. You could buy a chrome limited gun. I forget what it's called. There's a chrome version of these that doesn't have the baller slide cuts, but is pretty cheap. I think like $1,000, something like that. But again, I feel like it's probably going to come down to availability.
And they fit in a regular stock 2 holster, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the magazines, I mean, I use the same mag pouches. I use pretty much the same everything. The magazines are even basically the same. You just put on they're 40 caliber magazines with a different feed lip, and you put on a different base pad and like a spring follower kit, and there you go, 20 rounds of 40 caliber.
Yeah, because I've debated about doing that since I've got stock 2 setups. I could just drop that gun in my holster and the magazines would go right in the pouches, and then you'd be good to roll. Correct?
That
That makes it.
That is what I did.
That makes it attractive.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking to shoot limited, again with the extreme guns, I'm not going to say that it's cheap, but it's not expensive as limited guns go.
Right.
But again, it's not a bespoke gun either. You know, it is you're basically shooting limited with a production gun. It's just a production single action gun.
Yeah.
So that's what I got. I think it's an interesting gun, and if I was looking to buy a Tanfolio limited gun, I would buy what's available because I know the availability is kind of sparse, and then I would set it up the way I wanted. If the extreme guns are what they have, I'd buy it. Be like, well, all said and done, it's a few $100 more than I really had to spend, but it's all done, so it's like, you know, it's not that bad.
I like.
Okay,
it.
Yeah, let's go, guys.
Matt.
I just want to I don't know how controversial this will be or anything, but talk about levels of participation.
Yeah. Oh man, I thought you were going racial or something.
Oh,
it's a joke, Matt. I did not think you were going racial.
Everybody knows Matt. Matt's nice, unlike you.
Listen to Joel, not Ben.
Nobody goes racial. You guys are all nice. Everybody's nice here.
I don't know where I'm going with this. I mean, sort of like.
I believe you said in the pre-show something about level of participation.
Yeah. I'm trying to kind of talk it out. So.
Can I guess where you're going? Can I guess?
Is it Yeah, go ahead.
If you are not trying to be a world-class Death Stalker, you don't have to participate at that level, and you should be okay with it.
Yeah, that's kind of it. Like, tailor your expectations towards your level of participation. So, like, if you're going to sit out of a match because of the weather, don't expect to be that great. Or if you're going to only go practice on nice days and it's not 40 degrees and drizzling out and you get soaked and cold, you're not going to be as good as someone that is out there doing that. That's just kind of what I want to. It's kind of like a rant, sort of, right?
Oh, I like it. I am that guy that stays home if it's 40 degrees and raining, though.
Oh, well. I'll be
that's why you keep smashing me, yeah.
Well, this is supposed to be fun, right?
It's still fun, though, but this winter's been so goddamn awful. With the snow and the temperature.
I'm here, I'm all tanned and shit. I don't even know about what are you talking about with winter.
It's still winter here. We had sleet when I was leaving work today, so that's awesome.
It was so bad, and I was like, I'm at the level of I'll basically go out at any point right now just to go shoot.
Okay. Well,
any weather conditions, any match conditions or anything, they've been canceling a lot of matches around here because of the bays are wet, damage to the roads going in and out. It's it's not really my problem. Someone else is
ready to go shred some hose.
Someone else is going to get a tractor to go fix that. I don't have to worry about it.
Okay. So tailor your expectations to level of participation. I like that. And kind of regardless of your level of participation, you should have appropriate expectations.
Yes, exactly.
Even if you're very, very involved, it's kind of well, it takes years to get really good. And if you're as good as Mr. Hopkins is, it takes 100,000 rounds and a couple years to make a 5% move in your skill level.
Yeah, that's probably pretty accurate.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the way it is, dude.
Yeah, I agree. Joel, I think you're up.
Yeah, definitely. We're thinking along the same lines, actually. I want to just talk about putting too much of an emphasis on numbers. So that could be hours of dry fire, numbers of rounds fired, number of reps, whatever. I just want to suggest that numbers don't always equate skill. So kind of, you get out what you put in. So I interact with a lot of people, and I've heard things like, I can only dry fire 15 minutes a day, maybe 3 days a week, or I can only shoot 500 rounds a month. And I think people have in their mind that they can't get good unless they're dry firing 2 hours a day and shooting 1,000 rounds a week. So I think numbers are good to relay data, but that isn't the deciding factor on how good you get. So maybe the message is do the absolute best with the resources you have and don't have a self-imposed restriction or ceiling. You get out what you put in. And when you're doing it, be all there. Be focused on training. What do you think about that?
That's actually my signature line on the Enos forums.
Is it really?
Get out what you put in, yeah.
Well, I like it. I haven't been on Enos in so long, I'm not going to lie.
I haven't either. Like, you got to go there to find the match schedule, but that's about it.
I can't.
Are you totally bored at this point, Ben?
No, no. I'm digging up questions. That's all. I'm not surfing anything.
Okay.
He's looking for Tanfo parts.
I was just grabbing the podcast questions. I'm not bored.
Okay.
No, I mean, you're talking sense, Joel. When people get really focused on the numbers, I think they make dumb decisions.
Yeah. Because it does, I'm not going to lie, it makes me a little crazy when they're like, well, I want to get good, but this is all I have to work with, so I guess I'm just going to suck. And it's like, okay, but if you dry fire 15 minutes a day, let's say 3 days a week, like when you start that 15 minutes, are you like dicking around for the first part? Like, well, what do I want to do today? Or do you like, hey, today I really want to work on trigger control. I'm going to do drills with trigger control. And for that 15 minutes, I'm really focused on really getting better on that. I'm really putting in all the effort. It's not like, oh, I only have 15 minutes. It's like, hey, I have this time. I'm going to be focused. I want to get better. I'm going to really work at it, Or if you have 500 rounds to shoot, it's like all I have is 500 rounds. I guess I'm never going to be good. It's like, well, what can I do to be maximizing the stuff I've got,
Dude, when I started my first year, I had 5,000 rounds, and that was all I had, and I wasn't going to get more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I budgeted that out, and I made it work.
So you got the most that you could out of what you had to work with, right? Is that fair?
Well, yeah. I mean, when I was starting out, I was always shooting. I mean, I was poor, man. I was like 21, so I didn't really have resources except for time. That was the only thing I could do is I put in time and energy, and kind of overcame things that way.
Yeah.
You just have to make do with what you have and not get too focused on the raw numbers.
Yeah. I just don't like self-imposed restrictions, though.
No, they're silly. Let's move on to a couple questions, guys. I think we have time for two because the first one's easy. I know you generally don't discuss gear questions, but I think this one would be of interest to many of your listeners. Can you and your panel discuss what you wear for ear protection and why? Custom molded plugs versus off-the-shelf plugs versus muffs, electronic, non-electronic. Do you wear different ear pro for different environments? Et cetera. There's some questions here about should open shooters with comps wear something different. Shooters without them prevent noise-induced flinching. When is it valuable to double up on ear pro? So what do you say, guys?
Matt, you or me?
I will go first. I use over-the-ear earphones that are electronic. I have a pair of inside-the-ear earphones in case I have a crazy stage like going prone or somewhere in the stage I could realistically knock the other hearing protection off, because I do know that's a reshoot or whatever and I would stop immediately, but that is just a pain in the ass to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you say, Joel?
I had electronic hearing protection, the Dillons, that I liked a lot. I used them for years, and so I always had those. And then I'm talking about the ear muffs. And then I broke one of the sides on it, whatever. So they're smoked. So I just bought from the pro shop, just the cheap. They're like $20, just the regular, non-electronic Dillon, just over the regular ear muffs. And I was like, I'll just see what the difference. And honestly, I've never looked back. I don't really care. I like the ear muffs better than just the plugs. I suppose they could get a little bit annoying during summer if it's hot, but I'm just used to it. I don't like being able to hear anything. Before, I should say, with electronic muffs, I thought, you get this feedback, and maybe you could hear steel better, or maybe like when you're loading your gun, you hear the bullet hitting the feed ramp, or maybe you hear all this other noise and stuff. And now, like, I don't even want it in my brain. I don't need to hear anything. I don't need to hear the peanut gallery behind me, like, chattering when I'm making ready or anything like that. I just, like, when I'm shooting, I pay attention. I watch the sights. Maybe I hear like dings of steel or something. That's a bonus if you do, but otherwise I don't care at all. So nothing special for me. Like $20, I think, and that's Like even if I had the electronic muffs, I would still just use the ones I use, the non-electronics. I think they're fine.
I'm terrible with things that are custom made or expensive. So I use over-the-counter earplugs and earphones, depending on the environment. Outdoors, I'm comfortable with just the plugs. Even if there's open guys around, I might muff over it. Indoors, I tend to plug and muff. And if I'm shooting a lot by myself, I tend to plug and muff. I already have a little bit of tinnitus going on, so I don't really want any more. I don't like electronic hearing protection at matches. It's okay for, talking to people, but I don't really want to hear what's going on at matches. So if you have electronic hearing protection, I usually tell people to shut that shit off at matches.
Or shut it off when you're making ready. Is that fair? So leave them on so you can talk to people while
I mean, that's what
other
I
people
mean,
are shooting.
like when you're actually shooting.
Okay.
Yeah. That's usually what I say. For open shooters or people who are sensitive to the blast, double plugging all the time is, I think, the way to go. Like I would not shoot open with anything less than double plugging. I just wouldn't.
Me
No
neither.
way. Way too loud. I don't even like being around open guns.
Me neither.
It's not for me. Those things are obnoxious.
Yes.
All right, let's do one more. All right, let me skip the part. I recently joined in. No. Skip again. I'm only going to be able to practice twice a month. I'm a B-class limited shooter with pretty typical B-class deficiencies. Training group has been an excellent resource for me, but with so many live fire drills up there, I was hoping you'd help me prioritize and get the most out of my time. I'm envisioning 3 hours and 500 rounds per visit, but I don't even know what a good format would be. Should I focus on one or two of my worst issues and stay on them for a few months? If so, I'd hit entries and exits and distance changeup. I could be convinced to try to master swingers and stars because they are hard to dry fire and can wreck a stage. Perhaps it's best to cover a wider range of skills each month. My next major is in August, and I want to be a respectable B-class guy. I'm okay with slow and steady improvement. Also, what are you doing to keep Kimmy grounded now that he's gone all Hollywood on us? I don't want to see him become another Dan Bilzerian. Is he gone Hollywood? Did I miss something?
So.
What did Kim do?
I don't think so. I mean, he's awesome. He's awesome, of course, but
I don't know what this guy's talking about. I'm way more of a fucking douche than Juancic will ever be.
I agree.
I'm way worse. I spend money frivolously on nonsense and travel a lot, do stupid things. I'm way
worse. Pores every chance you get.
I do, actually. Oh man. Okay. So let's get to the. Well, how about I answer this and you guys back me up afterward? Just tell me how correct you think I am, or maybe you'll think I'm wrong. I don't know. So usually what I tell people to do is when you go out and practice, you should do like two things. So 500 rounds, that to me, I'm going to do a couple drills, maybe 3 in that time. I don't think it would take me 3 hours either. It depends. I mean, if there's drive time included and brass pickup and you're kind of slow at it, maybe, but I don't think it's going to be a 3-hour deal. I would decide what I could get the most bang for my buck out of. So if I need to work on movement or marksmanship fundamentals or transitions or whatever, I'll pick a few areas that I need to work on, and then I'll work on 2 or 3 drills during the practice session. If this guy's going twice a week, that means he's going to do probably an average of 5 live fire drills a week during the 2 range sessions. If you pick a couple areas you want to work on, what I typically tell people to do is you're going to focus on the areas that you feel you need to focus on, a couple areas, 2, 3 things, and then you spend the rest of your time working on other stuff just a little bit. So if this guy's working on movement and what's the other thing?
Is it distance change up?
Distance change up.
Yeah, okay. So
if he's going to do movements and distance change up, I would say, okay, every week you're going to shoot a drill along those lines. It doesn't have to be exactly distance change up. It could be some other transition drill that emphasizes working different targets at different distances. Maybe you want to do accelerator, maybe do something else, like whatever. something along those lines, and some sort of movement thing. You're going to do that every week. And then you split your other time around other drills. That would be what I tell you to do. So you're spending about half your time on the stuff you want to focus on, and then you're kind of doing a little bit of other stuff, kind of balancing things out with your other time. Sometimes I'll tell people like, hey, you're going to do this and this drill every week, and then with the other half of your ammo, you can spend that however you want. Spend it on different things. And that just kind of keeps you balanced and keeps you working on different things. I don't like people going out and getting really ingrained in a habit where they're shooting the same drills every time they go practice, or shooting the same sets of drills week after week after week. I don't think there's enough variation there. I think you should be changing it up more. But because quite honestly, what you're doing is practical shooting, so you need to have a variety of different skills, or be able to apply your skills in different ways. So don't just think in terms of, I want to do distance change up. Think in terms of, hey, what other drills apply to the same sort of skill set? And there'll be a whole list, and I'll just pick one that week. And I'll just do that one. So that's kind of what I tell people to do. About half your time on your areas of focus, the other half of your time, spread it around, work on everything a little bit. Like, for example, if guy's saying he wants to try to master swingers and stars, I think that makes for miserable range sessions. It sucks, like setting up a swinger, and it takes tons of time to do that. So if you wanted to do that once in a month, I'd say fine. Would I tell you to work on swingers every day for every practice session for 2 months? No, I wouldn't. That's probably what it would take to sort of approach mastery, maybe longer. But I wouldn't tell you to do that, because that's going to be miserable, and I don't think there's that much upside to it. Okay, now Matt, jump in.
I think those are all good. I think you want to start out by backing up what you're doing in dry fire practice, just verifying everything's good there with some live rounds. And then E-class standard stuff. I mean,
E-class shooters are typically a bit shit at everything.
Yeah, and they're slow. They need to like push their speed. Is one thing I did from getting out of B class and going higher, is actually pushing the speed on stuff. So like maybe like doing train wrecks just by going after speed on drills. That's kind of what I would do also.
Well, there you go. Joel, you got anything for that?
Yeah, I don't like the beatings will continue until morale improves with drills, because that's just like for accelerator for a while, I struggled with that. It's like every week I'm going to work on accelerator. And it was like, no, that wasn't as productive. So yes.
Well, okay, think about this. Your first range session on any drill should be the most productive one. And think about like a curve or like a law of diminishing returns. Like, you want to get the easy learning curve. You want to take that part right away. So if you get a couple range sessions in on a particular drill, you will learn a lot. If you by the 100th range session on a particular drill, the gains come a lot slower. So you've got to be spreading your time around.
Yeah. And then I think your lowest hanging fruit should always be changing. So like if you just make a general statement, like I always suck at, you fill in the blank, or I always struggle with, like whatever you fill in the blank with, that always needs to get worked on. Like that's something I always have in the back of my mind. I want to continue to improve on, but maybe I would use different drills to work on that skill. But I think you also need to continue to work at the things you're good at. So if you're, good at going fast, keep working on being fast. Or if you're good at partials, continue to work on partials, because you want to continue to get good at everything. So I train on everything all the time. But yes, each range session, exactly like what Ben, as far as dividing up your time. I think it was money. I like it.
All right. Well, there we go, guys. Another bang up podcast. This is my line.
There's the line.
There it is. All right, listeners, if you have a question you want the answer to, go to benstecker.com. Send me your question. Anything shooting related should be fine. And thank you, Joel and Matt, for coming on.
Thanks to Matt for coming on.
No problem.
See you, dude.
Mostly thank you, Matt, because you've been ducking me. You haven't been on in 2 years, you son of a bitch.
2 years, right?
Yeah. All right.